Welcome to the Rat Race to 5 podcast, where we discuss money, mindset, real estate investing, and ways to achieve financial independence. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran needing new ideas for investing or creating side hustles, you're in the right place. Here to challenge you to think out of the box, your hosts, Felipe Mejia and Diego Corzo.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is your boy Felipe, and I'm here with my co-host Diego Corzo. And as always, thank you so much for jumping on here. Today, we have a really interesting person that we're going to be interviewing. His name is Leo, but what's really crazy about this guy is that he's only started investing 2 years ago, and he's potentially going to close on 19 units in the next couple of months. What's crazy, though, is that he went from single family to now investing in a 12-unit apartment complex. And he talks about that transition. It's crazy.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things, Felipe, that he says, or that he just finished doing, was a goal-setting retreat between him and his fiance. And I really like that because it goes on with the potential that when you're a couple, there's a lot of things that are involved. And you have to make sure that both of you are on the same page when you are creating the future that you guys want to have.
I couldn't agree more. You know, when he talks about his wife, Kelsey, or his soon-to-be wife, Kelsey, his fiance, where he talks about how much she is involved, I was really surprised because I've actually met his wife, beautiful young lady, and just doesn't look like she would want to get involved in real estate, but apparently she's crushing it. She's his main negotiator. So I think that's awesome. Guys, this is going to be such a good one. He gives some great tips about books. But all right, let's get off of him. Let's get ready to start. Leo, welcome to the show. Leo, thank you so much for joining us on Rat Race to 5, man. For this podcast, one of our biggest things is we want to get to know the investor, not just their investing, right? A lot of podcasts will have like investing or like their strategies and all this. But I feel like a lot of the time what they lack is like, who is the investor? At the end of the day, I know how they invest, but a lot of times I'm like, I don't know who they are, right? So let's connect a little bit. Leo, who are you? What do you do, man? Let's talk about that before we get into any real estate.
Yeah, man. First off, thanks for having me, guys. Just a little bit about me. I would say I'm a pretty average guy. I think, like most people, I have a W-2 that takes a lot of me. What's your W-2
role, job? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm a director of loan servicing for an auto finance company.
Okay. So
what that means is I oversee a call center. Essentially, we have roughly 350 employees in one call center, and then, another 900 in another. So that's my W-2. I do that for a living. That keeps me super busy, as you could imagine. I think that, long days, working from home, being in the virtual environment. So like I said, that keeps me busy. And then, aside from that, I'm engaged. My fiance and I have been together since March, or engaged since March. And then I'm super into sports. Like I went to, up here behind me is my Oklahoma State stuff. That's where I went to college. And so, if it's during football season, that's like my primary focus is like, what game are we watching? We go to Stillwater for all the games. So that's a big hobby for us.
So your wife or your fiance goes with you as well, or you have to drag her with you? Dude,
she's ride or die, man. She's a good lady. I don't think she necessarily enjoys it as much. I'm kind of a fanatic, but we have a lot of fun doing it. So it's good.
That's awesome. I love that. So what led to where you're at now with your job? How did you meet your fiance? I mean, give us the good backstories.
Yeah. So I started off, man, straight out of college, right in the middle of the Great Recession, and got really lucky. I got started in the manager and training program with Capital One, and I started there. Really what I work in is like collections, which I never thought I would work in that type of environment. And I've made a career out of it. And so I've been doing that for 11 years, progressed through my career doing that. And then, I met my fiance, let's see, like 3-4 years ago, man. But prior to meeting her, like I lacked a lot of direction, and I'm sure I'll talk a lot about that. But, I was just kind of a young guy out having fun, living my life. And then meeting her kind of changed me. Like it changed the way I look at life and the way I do things. And that's really what kind of got me into the investing side of things. And I think is what led to me to where I am today. I could say probably without her in my life, I wouldn't be here. I'd probably be out having a lot of fun still, not being the most responsible with my finances. But like I said, meeting her has changed that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Leo, as far as like, what made you like? Was there a turning point in your life that you realized, hey, like I need to get started in real estate? What was that in your life?
Yeah, so I think I alluded to it a little bit, man. I think so. When I turned about 27, I'm 35 now. I was very fortunate. I started making pretty good W-2 income. And with most people, I grew up really middle class. All right. So my father passed away at a young age. My mom did a great job raising my brother and I. And so we didn't have like a ton of money growing up. We were just a normal family. And then when I turned 27, I started coming into some decent income. And man, I was having a good time. I traveled a lot. I think no kidding. I was in Vegas like once a quarter. I went to Mexico like twice a year. And what I found
wait. I'm not going to let you just go over Mexico. Tell us a story about Mexico. Give us your best Mexico story.
Dude, I spent 11 straight days in Mexico.
Do you remember all 11?
Buddy, no, absolutely not. There's some really good stories about me that if my friends listen to this podcast, they would allude on. I'm not going to incriminate or tell on myself too much. But let's just say I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun for about, 4 or 5 years. But like I said, I met my fiance and I really started like looking at my finances and I was like, holy crap, like everybody does their taxes each year, right? And that hits you in the face. Like, here's how much I brought home. And I'm like, well, where's all my money? And I'm like, oh, there's my Instagram pictures. I went to Australia. I was in Mexico all the time. Like I had a lot of fun. And so, like I said, growing up, not having a bunch of money, I didn't know how to behave with it, I would say. And so one of my best friends, Jonathan, came over one day and we were just talking and I was telling him about what I wanted to achieve in life and I needed to make some changes. And just like anybody else, he approached me with a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so I read that book and it really changed my mindset, but it wasn't just that book. That was the beginning of 2018. And from the time I read that book, I was never a reader. I went like turbo, man. I think I read like 60 books in 2018. And I really tried to focus on my financial education, and through reading and learning, that's what kind of turned me into investment and personal finance to try and better my life. And, like I said, it's helped me tremendously up to this point.
Yeah. And Leo, really quick, because I want to take us back. Is there a time because you said that you had a lot of fun for like 5-6 years, spending a lot of your hard-earned income. Do you regret a little bit of that? Like once you look back and you look at your spending?
It's funny you said this, man. I had Kelsey, my fiance, and I went on a goal setting retreat this weekend. And that's one of the things we talked about. And she was like, hey, do you regret that? And it's tough to say, dude. I had a great time for 4 or 5 years. I had more fun than anybody could ever imagine. But I think, yeah, I do. I think that if I would have started investing or in myself or personal finance, back years ago, I would be in a much different place today. And so although I enjoy the good times, I probably been more responsible. I would have pulled back and focused more on like, hey, how can I build wealth? How can I set up a path for success for my future? So yeah, it's kind of mixed, but I would have done things a little differently.
Yeah. And quick question for you too here. Did you ever put that in? So with your lifestyle, right? You had fun. Did you put that on credit cards as well? Or did you just spend the cash that you had?
Cash. I didn't really get to a ton of debt. I mean, I think probably with any middle 20-year-old, I had like the average amount of debt that anybody would have, but I wasn't like putting it on credit. I got monthly bonuses in my job, so I'd get that, and it was always a good cushion. And I'm like, all right, well, where are we going this month? And so that's kind of the way I did it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really like that, Leo, because a lot of people, they begin to have this lifestyle just based on their credit cards, or they think that because I know that I have that income that I can totally pay off my credit cards later. And they begin to spend money from that they think that they have right now, but they're really they're gonna have to work in the future to be able to pay for the present. And that's when they get stuck in the rat race.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that's one thing that I did do well. Like I kept an eye on that. I didn't want to get overburdened with debt. I never really overextended myself. I just spent a lot. when I could have been saving 40% of my income versus spending that on going out and having fun.
No, that's good. And Leo, you mentioned something, and we will get to the real estate stuff here too, but you mentioned that you and your fiance went on a goal setting retreat. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, was it a couple of days? What pushed you to do that?
Yeah, man. We just did it this past weekend. We went to Stillwater, Oklahoma, which is where I went to college at Oklahoma State. We spent 2 days there. And what kind of led us there is kind of like everybody follows Brandon Turner and hears things he does. And I watched a video that him and his wife did recently, and I was like, hey, that's super inspiring to me. And my fiance and I think we wanted more clarity in our life. Mm-hmm. I think I'm super motivated with my career. So is she. And then we have the real estate business. So we used 2 days, man, to focus on what our goals are. And we really focus on, what are our goals with our family? What are our goals with our friends? What are our goals with our fitness? What are our goals with our finances? And then freedom, like, where do we want to be in 5 years from now? And we really tried to paint out a vision of what like a great life looks to us, a life of abundance, essentially. And so that's what we focused on for the weekend. And we came away invigorated, and I think we've got some really good goals we're excited to do together.
That's awesome, Leo. Yeah, because I'll tell you this, like, a lot of people, they focus just on the wealth with the money, right? Like investing for like the passive income, the real estate, earning high income, and that's great. But the idea here, and this is one of the reasons why we're doing these podcasts and why we share with Rat Race 2FI, is that it's great to be a millionaire on the money side, but it's even better to be a millionaire in all areas of life. Because you don't want to be that rich guy, for example, like 300 pounds overweight, in the hospital, having trouble breathing, divorced 3 times, and their kids are not even there, right? And it was only because they just focused on creating this big company and go. And at the end of the day, that's not what life is all about. The idea is to be a millionaire in all areas of life. And I really like how you guys were able to talk on the goal setting, not just on the real estate side, but in like what your future will look like with freedom, family, all of that stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Like I said, we talked a lot about that. We would have kids soon, and I'm like, hey, I don't want to have to be, I want to keep working. I love my job. I love what I do. I want to keep working, but also want to have freedom. I want to have some flexibility. I want to be there for my kids. I want to see them grow up. My mother's getting older, like, what can I do to be around her? So absolutely agree. I think for us, you got to be intentional about the life you want to have. Mm-hmm. And if you just go through life, if you're just spinning your wheels, you're just going to keep doing the same thing. Like I said, the rat race. So I think what we've done is painted a path for us to get to where we want to be in life.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Leo. So tell us a little bit. So you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and just for the audience here, where are you today with your real estate? Because then I want to bring it back as to like how you got started, but it's important for people to hear, okay, you still have a full-time job, but where are you today with your properties?
Yeah, so we've been investing for about 2.5 years. We have 7 doors. I think I just shared with you before this call, we're about to have a 12-unit apartment complex under contract, which is super exciting. So yeah, in 2.5 years, we're way further than we thought we'd be. When we started talking real estate, it was 2018, and our initial goal was to have our first rental in 2020. And so we're way ahead of where we want to be. So yeah, it's been a fun journey so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so tell us a little bit then about your first property. Like how did you get started? What were the numbers? All of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, I think I got into the real estate bug I think it was March of 2018. And we did our first deal in August of 2018, and that was a seller finance deal. I think like I told you, I didn't have a lot of money. I was not good with money. I blew it all. So I was like, all right, it's going to take me 2 years to save 20% down payment. I can work on education. But during that time, like, I think I listened to the book Low and No Money Down, like 20 times. So I learned about seller finance, and an opportunity came to me, through my fiance, and I pitched seller finance on a deal. I had no experience. I had very limited cash, and we were able to get a house under contract for seller finance. We got it for $129,000, which it wasn't like some screaming deal, man. It wasn't that we got it 70% of market. I think we paid 85% of market value for it, but I got it with no money down. We renovated it ourselves, or let me take a step back. Kelsey renovated it. She did a lot of the painting. I think I tiled a little bit. Believe it or not, she's pretty handy, more handy than I am. So man, we did that. We rented it for $1,400 a month. And out of our entire portfolio, that property has been probably, if I go back and look at our spreadsheet, probably our best performing one. And it wasn't a screaming deal. It was our first one. We just had some tools in our toolkit. We did the seller financing and figured it out along the way.
Awesome, Leo. And so tell us a little bit, what does seller financing mean for the audience here?
Yeah, for sure. So seller financing is essentially where the homeowner, they own the home outright with no mortgage on it. And instead of going to a bank and getting the mortgage, the owner actually carries the note. So the owner acts like a bank. So when we approached that conversation, it was like, hey, would you be interested in selling the house? They're like, yeah. And I was honest, hey, I don't have a whole lot of money right now. Getting financing is not an option. Would you consider carrying the note? Okay, what does that mean? And we said, hey, so it's an opportunity for you to act like the bank. We will pay you this fixed interest rate. You're going to make interest and principal each month. And we pulled out a spreadsheet. We showed them how much money they're going to make. And they're like, oh, great, this is a good deal. And it had a 2-year balloon on it, and we refinanced out. But to come back, yeah, the owner essentially acts as the bank to simplify it.
So,
okay.
Leo, let me jump in real quick. Why would a seller want to carry the note? Why wouldn't they just want the whole big chunk of change up front, right? Like, I think that's what I would want to do. So educate me. Tell me why I would do seller financing.
Yeah, so I think the number one thing is it's residual passive income. And it's not just residual passive income, but you're making a significant amount of interest up front because it's usually amortized on a 30-year note. So if you break the math down, if you're making a $600 a month mortgage payment, like 500 of that's interest, 100 is going to principal. So that's free and clear cash that's going to them. And so that's one reason. And it's monthly income. Another reason is the tax benefits. Rather than having this big taxable event at once, you could spread that tax liability out over time. And when we approached the deal, that was kind of our selling point. And as we've gone and we've offered that as an option to sellers, that's always been our selling point of like, hey, number one, you have an opportunity to make X dollars per month. And the majority of it's going to be interest income. Number two, you're going to have less of a tax. You're not going to have a taxable event. And so that's going to be better for you when your taxes come due. And so those, I think, are the two primary reasons that is a benefit to sellers.
That would be like a really good strategy. Like, for example, if I was a tired landlord, like if I had, let's say, a rental property that I'm used to getting that rental income from, and then all of a sudden I need to sell it, but I would rather have that consistent income that's probably going to be the same as my rental income, but now I get to have it, month after month. Nothing changes in accounting. I don't have a large tax bill that I need to take care of. I get this consistent cash flow that I'm used to. My life really doesn't change. And, I get rid of the headaches. So I bet this would be a really good strategy for like retired landlords. So for everyone that's listening, if you're out there wholesaling or you want to buy properties like Leo did, you can offer this type of service to them for the seller to carry the note. And then, they're able to decide what to do with that money and not have this large chunk of change. And now they have to put 10, 15, 20, 30% of taxes on top of that. So yeah, I think that's a really good strategy.
Yeah. Can I add one more thing to that?
Of course.
That was really helpful in this scenario. The seller, I think, wanted like 140. And we took out the spreadsheet and said, hey, we're going to pay you 4.5% interest over these 2 years. And through that, you're going to make like $8,000 in interest. So I'm like, hey, you're at 137. If you hold this note for 2 years, you're pretty much at the price that you wanted. And so that was another selling point. I think that if you're negotiating with the seller, you can bring them down and then say, hey, through interest income over this amount of time, you're going to get back to your original price or closer to it that you originally wanted. And I think that really aided us in this deal.
Interesting. So were you able to negotiate like interest only for those 2 years, or did you give them extra money as well?
So we did just a simple principal and interest. We did negotiate on the interest rate. I think I came in pretty low, wanting like a 3.5%, and they wanted 6.5%, and we landed at 4.5%. So yeah, that was really the main negotiation point, was the term, which was 2 years, and the interest rate.
Okay. And how much money did you put into the property for rehab before you rented it out?
Man, it was I think just over $5,000. A lot of sweat equity. Most of that was materials. We did hire out a little bit for some small pieces of flooring, but the rest of it, like I said, Kelsey was in there painting. I was painting. We tiled the floors ourselves. But we learned very quickly that's not the best use of our time. That took a lot of time. We're not super handy, and so we said, hey, for this one, we'll do ourselves. But going forward, like, we're going to contract everything out.
Let's run through that. So for those that are starting out and are like, yeah, Leo, but I don't have the money to do that, or I don't have the way to do that, right? Like, yeah, you put in a little bit of sweat equity, but why did you realize that your time is better spent elsewhere, and maybe put these things that need to happen in a professional's hands with a credit card or whatever the case may be? But can you explain to us why and how you found out that was more important?
Man, yeah, I think number one was just the time that went into it. It's a lot of time, especially if you're like me, you have a W-2 job. And this, let me make note, this property was out of state. It was in Oklahoma. So we were having to drive 4 hours on the weekends to do this. So we're doing Friday night, Saturday, maybe Sunday, and heading back to Texas. So it was just a lot, man. And then, like I said, the painting was good. The craftsmanship, the tiling was not the best. So for us, it was a time, and it's a beat down, man. That is hard work. I respect contractors, dude. I mean, it wears you down. So I would say that was the biggest part for us, is the craftsmanship and the amount of effort and time that went into it for us. For people that have a W-2 job, I'm all down to hustle, man. I'll get my hands dirty. But if there's an easier way to do it and it costs a little bit more money, I think the cost benefit is there to pay for it, get it done right, and then get your time back.
So let's talk about that, getting it done right. Would you agree, now that you've put in some of the work yourself, like I have as well, that we're not the best painters? We're not the best tilers. There is a guy out there that does it every freaking day and can do what you did in 3 days before lunch and not even get dirty. Can we agree on that? Because a lot of people won't accept that. Let's talk about it.
Hands down, unequivocally, yes. And you think painting is easy. Painting, quote unquote, is easy. There's a difference between somebody who does it for a living and me, who works all the time and has painted a handful of times in their life. I can go into our houses that we've, quote unquote, painted or participated in, and the rooms we've painted versus a professional. So yeah, they've got a skill and a craftsmanship, just like I do with my job. So to me, it's let the professionals do their thing. They're really good at it, and I'll focus on what I'm good at.
Yeah, I agree with that. Whenever I'm getting my flips done, I used to put a lot of the work in, and now it's like, okay, Felipe needs to go out and work on getting the money to pay the professionals to do this so that it lasts. Like, I'm good at what I do in my job. I'm going to let them be good at what they do, and I'm going to pay them for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100% agree, man. That's the best use of time.
And so, Leo, too, so you, as far as the property management goes for the property, once you leased it to tenants, what did you have a property management in place since you lived in Dallas, or what was it that you do?
No, yeah, I'm really glad you asked that. We self-manage everything. We don't use property management. So one thing I think that we've done really well is we've looked at our investments as a business. And we've done a really nice job of documenting our processes. I think a lot of people, and not to toot our own horn, but I think early in our journey, we started documenting process. And so we now have a virtual assistant who lists our property on Zillow, Avel, wherever it needs to go. They service all of the inbound calls. They service all of the text inquiries. Whatever comes through, they pre-screen the tenant, and then they schedule. And then we have somebody in town that is our quote unquote leasing specialist, and they show the property for us.
So let's talk about virtual assistants. How, why, what, when, where? I mean, give us the rundown on that. How did you find a VA? How did you decide you needed one? When is the right time? Like, walk us through that.
Decided very early. Now the first property we did, we actually, our first two, we leased out ourselves. It's a ton of work. It's a ton of time. Leasing up a property in and of itself is at minimum, I think, a 14-hour job based off of our kind of time studies. And so we realized, hey, we don't have the time to, number one, like I said, I work, Kelsey's a teacher. We don't have the time to answer the phone during the day and do pre-screening phone calls. Then drive after work or on the weekends, only see people on Saturdays in Oklahoma. And so we realized, hey, this isn't going to work. It's not scalable. It's not sustainable. And so we said, hey, we need a VA. We looked at property management, but we didn't like the way they ran their businesses. Like I work in the auto finance industry. I'm very versed on like credit and risk. And so I understand what FICO and incomes means. And a lot of places weren't big on credit. And so I kind of know the risks that comes with that. So we said, hey, we want to run our business the way that we do. And our average like tenant credit score is like 745. So we have really high FICO tenants that pay and they're easy to work with. So I would much rather have it in my hands and do it. And like I said, have a virtual assistant manage that process for us.
Awesome. So do you train your virtual assistant? How did you find them? What KPIs did you, or, key point indicators did you tell them to look for? Kind of walk us through that process. Cause I know a lot of people are on the fence on VAs. Yeah.
Sorry. I failed to answer that up front. I got really lucky. We had been talking about doing a VA, and then I was on LinkedIn, and somebody who I had a pre-existing relationship with and was super close with and knew they were capable. I noticed they changed their LinkedIn profile to VA. So I had pinged them and I said, hey, I see you're doing virtual assistant work. I'm looking for one. Do you think you can help me out? And we hopped on a phone call. I explained exactly what we needed, and she was like, I'll do it. So that's how we found her. As far as training her, we had spent countless hours documenting all of our leasing requirements, all the questions we asked people. So we have like a 6-page document, and it was just like your first day at a new job. If you go to a new job, you go through a new hire orientation, you get trained. That's exactly the way we did it with her. We hopped on a Zoom call. It was about 3 hours, and I just explained what our goals were, what our objectives were, what we were looking to get out of the process. And then we just spent time going through the SOPs step by step. From there, she took it over. And then since then, she's done a much better job of cleaning them up and making it easier. So if we scale, if we have to hand it off to somebody else to help us with the process as well, they're better at it. But so far, the virtual assistant process has been a game changer for us. And anybody consider it like, if you're worried about money or thinking you don't have enough work, like you can't afford not to. Like it's so necessary, man. It's been a game changer for us.
Leo, will you repeat that for Diego? I've been trying to get him to have a virtual assistant for years. And this dude does like 50 closings in Austin. He's a realtor. He does Rat Race to Fi with me. We're now doing this podcast. We have 2 or 3 6-figure companies, and he does not have a VA. Leo, get on him.
Number one, that's incredible to me because Diego, I have a relationship with you. I know what you do. I know you're a busy guy. Dude, you have to get a VA. Like, no. Yeah. Schedule a doctor's appointment. They do it for you. It's easy, man. It's so worth it.
Yeah, it's as Leo was like explaining this whole thing in my head. I'm like, I need to get one ASAP, and I'm in the process right now. I have another person who she's doing the task that they're gonna be doing, the procedures, and we're gonna have them do a disc profile test and all of that stuff. So I'm excited. She's gonna be in the Philippines.
Nice, yeah, dude. It'll be a game changer. My life has got. I've been telling my coworkers, my life has gotten so much easier having a VA. So you're gonna love it, dude.
It's so true because, like, let's think about it this way. What good does it have? What good is it to make millions and not be able to enjoy it? Mm-hmm. What good is it to have rental income if you can't enjoy it? What good is it to have rental properties if you can't enjoy it? Like there's no good in us building as much as we're building without being able to enjoy it because we don't want to spend, $15 an hour for a VA or, some out of the country VAs are more like, $5 an hour. And to me, $5 for an hour, that's another hour that I get to play with my kid. So, like you said, it's the little things that we don't think about. It's like the decisions that we don't have to make anymore that are so crucial. And if we can hand that over, sure, it's going to be a learning curve, but if we can hand that over to someone that can do it better than us, just like we were talking about earlier about the painter that paints better than we do, mm-hmm. If we hand it over to somebody that can handle our lives a lot better than we can, I guarantee you, you'll be a lot more happier. You'll be more there for your kids. Let's say you're a dad, or, you'll have better relationships. You'll have better, everything that genuinely needs your time, right? Like I said, being a parent needs your time. Why not hire a virtual assistant to, schedule your your doctor's visit, schedule your dentist, schedule your meetings, and then you tell them, hey, I don't want to be available. Boom, 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 boom. And then that's it. So I think that's I think that's a great point. Diego, you need to do that.
The one thing that I have to say, so a good book for that is The E-Myth. So for my real estate business, I do have a full-time employee. He does all the transaction coordinating, drops off the signs, lock boxes, all of that stuff. But just like Leo said, after I read the book The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, I began to look at my business as a realtor, and I'm like, I need those SOPs, right? Those systems in place. So that's a great book that I would recommend for everybody to read and then implement that into your business.
Yeah, just to add on that, the E-Myth is what kind of drove me to that mindset of like, hey, I was working in my business. I share with you guys, I oversee a large organization. My job keeps me busy. I can't afford to have two jobs, and so the E-Myth changed that mindset. And then another book I would recommend as far as virtual assistants that really helped me was Virtual Freedom. And that's a really good book. And it kind of helped me know how to outline the process. And that's written by Chris Ducker. So I read that book before we hired somebody, and it's been a lot of help. And I went back to it a few times.
How does your fiance feel about the moves that you're making, the virtual assistants, like just this whole bit? How does she fit into this picture?
Yeah. So I think we've been very fortunate as a couple because we're on the same page with it. She's super supportive. But Kelsey plays a huge role in our business, to be honest with you. She is the person, like, if I didn't have her, I would not be successful doing this. And for a number of reasons, but one thing is that the role that she specifically plays in the real estate side is, number one, she's a hard ass negotiator. I'm kind of soft. I'll be honest. Negotiation is not my strong suit. When I make an offer and they come back, she's like, no, we're sticking to our guns. She takes over at that point. I'm like, cool, that's your deal. So she really handles a lot of like the negotiations, once an offer goes in place. And then the second thing she does that's critical to our business is she handles all of our design. So if you've ever followed our Instagram or seen any of our remodels, like they're really nice. I'm really proud of them. And she's the one that handles all that. And she does a really good job for us there.
That's awesome. Yeah. I was wondering like what all she does. So the design and all that kind of fun stuff. All right. So while we were, actually, let me ask you one more question. Why are you investing in real estate? It sounds like, and we talked a little bit about it earlier, but I'd like to deep dive a little more. It sounds like you have a good job. You have a good place. You're in a good headspace. You're about to get married. Why real estate? Why are you doing this?
A couple of reasons. I think number one is freedom. I think it's a path for me. I love working. I want to keep working for another 10 years at least, but I want to have a path after the fact. I want to be able to retire early. I want to be able to enjoy my kids. And I know for a fact this will get me there. The second thing is why not this versus an index fund, or why not this versus stocks? I invested in stocks. I consider myself to be a pretty technical guy, but I didn't have any success. I had trouble understanding and analyzing it. And I like being able to control the asset. I know what my real estate's going to give me each month, even in bad months. I know my property. I know if I've got a furnace that's going to go out, I can plan for that. So I get to control it. I manage the revenue stream and know what's coming in. So for me, I get to control it. It's my business, and then, freedom in the future.
I love that. So before we were on the call, we were bantering a little bit when we were talking. You were saying that you potentially have a deal that you're looking at. Can you walk us through what that's going to look like?
Yeah. So, super excited. My commercial lenders texting me right now, and my realtor. We have a 12-unit apartment that it looks like we'll have under contract as soon as we get after this call. And so, we're pumped, and it's a great value add opportunity, just super high level. It's an older 12-unit. It's 75% occupied, and rents are just at 50% of market value. And so there's a tremendous upside there as far as value add, to really nearly double the value of the asset. So that's what we're looking at. We're excited. We've never taken on a project of this scope. And so we'll get it under contract today. We'll go walk it with our GC and team on Sunday. We'll kind of work on the scope of work, and we'll go from there. But it seems like we're really excited so far.
Did you find it?
So, matter of fact, it's been on the MLS, And so they've been marketing it wrong. And the approach they've taken to evaluate the asset, they've kind of used a comparable approach. But based off, the cap rate and NOI, it's worth significantly more than what they marketed it as. So I think it probably got missed by not being with the broker, and it's been on the MLS. And I think that undoubtedly this project's going to probably take 120 plus grand to get up to where it needs to be. And I think that probably scared away some investors. But we have private lenders. We have a commercial bank that will do a construction loan with this. So we have different options that for me, it doesn't make me scared of that type of project.
Leo, so one of the things that you mentioned that I really like in analyzing your journey too is that you've gone from buying single family homes and maybe a duplex here or there to going straight to a potential 12plex, right? Like that's amazing. How was the transition in being able to analyze deals like from a single family to a multifamily?
Man, that's a really good question. I think for me, I read a lot. I've read probably every real estate book under the sun, whether it's pertaining to, single families, duplexes, or multi. So I think for us, it was just a lot of preparation. And then the other part, it's like, it's different, but it's not that different. Like you still need to account for like, all right, what's my property management going to cost me? What's my maintenance going to cost me? What's my utilities going to cost me? Property taxes, capital expenditures. You get all that, you take it out of your gross rental income and you get your NOI. So when you're looking at your rental properties, you're still looking at NOI. You're still looking at it the same way, but instead of looking at a cash flow basis, you're dividing it by the cap rate or the pro forma. So hopefully that answers your question. But to me, they're not 100% similar in nature, but if you have enough experience in the single family space, like you can get to a point at a high level to understand the multifamily space. There's a lot more underwriting that goes into it, but at a high level, I think you can understand it.
Yeah, and I feel like you also get some kind of economies of scale too, where like if you're gonna be painting one of the apartment units, you already know it's gonna be this square footage, and then if you need to paint 3 or 4 more, is that times 4, and it just becomes a lot easier. And for example, that contractor doesn't have to travel anywhere, so it's just that economies of scale. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to manage that 12plex yourself if you get it, or you're going to hire somebody?
This will probably be when we hire somebody out. I think it's not in our backyard. It's our first time to kind of deal with this type of asset. We want to get it right. That's where we're at today. I mean, we'll see. We need to interview property managers. We need to go through all that process. But as of today, I assume we'll put some sort of management in place. And it's just a 12 unit, so we don't need like on-site management. We'll just hire a third party.
So, Leo, sorry to cut you off there, but how long have you been investing in real estate again?
Just at 2.5 years, man.
So when did it click for you that this is what you can do to get to that financial freedom, live how you want, with who you want, however you want, and I guess what I'm trying to really dig out of you is like, okay, you started investing 2.5 years ago, but you went from single family to now buying an apartment complex. I mean, people are going to be like, okay, this guy was born with money or something. Like, I mean, people just don't do that. So explain that to us. Like, what does that look like? What fears do you have there? Because I know there's got to be some fear. Talk us through emotionally what this looks like.
Yeah, I would be remiss to say to y'all that I'm not nervous and anxious about this deal. But my experience up to this point, I mean, every deal we've done, we've learned something. Every deal I do, I'm going to be honest with you. After we close on a deal, I'm always like, damn, it's not a good deal. I always like second guess myself, and I've made so many mistakes, and we'll make mistakes with this deal, no doubt. But I think for me, it's leaning into your fear. Like if you're not nervous before you do something, like you're probably not really stretching yourself. And I know that's cliche. I tell that to people at work all the time about speaking in public or having difficult conversations. But if I'm feeling a little fear, like to me, that's an opportunity. Like I need to lean into it. I need to go to a space that I've never been before. And so I think that's key, a big part of it.
I mean, still doing your due diligence, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to be like, having some crazies doing some crazy stuff, but definitely, doing your due diligence, but getting, like you said, getting yourself out of your comfort zone of just, the single family home. Here's another one, but like really scaling, putting yourself uncomfortable and putting the lessons you've learned into what you're going to do with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I want to make clear, like, I'm not just going into this still blindly. Like we're going to get under contract. We've got the financials. We're going to go through it. We're going to get our budget. Like just because we got it under contract, like there's a lot more work. That's the first step in the process. We have a ton of due diligence to do, and, hopefully it plays out, but like I said, we're excited. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, we'll go back to work.
Awesome. And Leo, I have a question for you. I wanted you to share too, the deal that we did, that where I was the hard money lender, just so that people here can understand what hard money lending is, like that because in that deal you basically put zero money in your pocket, and I believe that you got paid at closing, right? So can you walk us through that deal for the audience here?
Yeah, that killer deal, number one. Thank you, Diego. So to walk through that deal, this was a house on, I'll go quick and high level. It had been on the MLS for like 120. I had called to make an offer on it. The day I called to make an offer on it, went under contract for 120. And I said, hey, if it falls under contract, give me a call. They called me back a month later. We made an all cash offer of 100 grand, thinking no way it would get accepted. I didn't have 100 grand. We had another active deal going. The deal got accepted, and it was a good enough deal where, I took it to Diego and I showed him the numbers. I knew the ARV was 140. I knew the only thing it needed was paint and floors. We were looking at like a $4,000 renovation budget. So we brought it to Diego. He was comfortable with the deal. So the way that works on the hard money side is it was a good asset. Diego decided to lend the money to us. He gave us 50 grand. He took a first lien. So what that means is if we don't perform, then Diego would get the property for essentially 50 grand. So Diego gave us $50,000. He charges points and interest on that. And then I went out and raised the other 50 grand to purchase and acquire the property. And so we bought it for 100 grand. It appraised out where we knew it was 140,000. And then plus renovation costs. And after the cash out refi, we walked away with the $4,000 check. So wow. Pretty much a free house. And we got all that done in 45 days. I think Diego was on a 90-day term, and I think we paid him out right at 60 days. Closing got pushed a week or two.
Yeah, I was hoping that it went a little bit longer so that I could make a little bit more interest on my money. But hey, now I can repeat the process again. But what I really like about this is that you hear a lot of investors saying, oh, there's no good deals on the MLS. Oh, if it's on the MLS, it's not going to be a good deal. But that deal that you literally got money cash, like at closing, you found it on the MLS. Like anybody could have done this. And it just goes to show that if you analyze the deals the right way and the right opportunity happens, you can totally get deals on the MLS.
Yeah, and I want to add to that. 5 of our 7 deals are MLS. Like there are deals to be had there. Another thing is people are like, there's no good deals. You make the deals. I think people get so worried about analyzing the deal and think it has to be cheap enough. Dude, if it's $140,000 house, just go offer 100. Like go make offers. We've made hundreds of offers, and very few stick. But when they do stick, I mean, they're great deals. And so, I think I think there are good deals available in MLS. I will say that. But I think also you have to go make good deals. You can't be afraid to make low offers. And if you're making an offer that doesn't make you nervous, then it's probably not a great offer, So
yeah, it wasn't low enough.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about that before we wrap this up a little bit. Why are people scared to make low offers?
I'll tell you, I was at starting out. I just think you don't want to insult people. I think you don't want to be a jerk. I think people by nature are meant to please other people. They care about what other people think. And I think they're worried about hurting people's feelings or making somebody mad. But you just got to get over that fear, especially with a realtor. They're your buffer. So, as long as your realtor understands what your goals and objectives are, that, you should make the offer how you want.
I like that answer. I really do. So, we'll start wrapping this up real quick. And I got a couple questions for you, Leo. How did 2020 affect your investing? How do you think positively or negatively affected your investing? And what's 2021 look like?
2020 was our best year, hands down. Like I said, we're new. We did three deals in 2020. We did one on our own. We used hard money. We did our first 2 burrs. We did our first hard money. We did our first partnership. We did all of that in 2020. And so for us, like, I think people get caught up in what social media says, like, oh, it's the worst year. That's not like, no, dude, it's what you make of it. Like there were it is a tough year in a lot of places, but we had a lot more time on our hands to do a lot more things. So we made the most out of it. So we did 3 deals. Last year, it was our best year. This year, our goal is to do 10 transactions, not 10 doors. We want to do 10 transactions because we believe if we can do 10 transactions, we've built out a scalable business to acquire, to renovate, to lease out. And so, that's really what we're focused on is building our business and our processes so we could scale up.
How long before you quit your job?
You know what, man? That's a great question. Kelsey and I spent that talking about this weekend. I think honestly, regardless for me, it's like I got at least 10 years left in me. I love my career, dude. I like to work. I like to lead. I like to help people. And the people I work with is great. So I think for me, it's like, hey, keep working, hopefully continue to build wealth. The plan is for Kelsey to retire, or quote unquote, get out of the W-2 after this year.
I think you're going to get there by May, bro. And I think you're going to do 10 deals by June. So yeah, I think you're going to get that a lot quicker than you think.
I love the confidence, man. I hope so.
Absolutely. So wrapping it up, Leo, where can people find you? Where can people find more about you? How do people follow you?
Yeah. So I would say the best place to find me is just on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. My handle is Leo Singer the second. So that's Leo and then Singer and the number 2 and ND. And so, I'm most active there. That's where we put most of our real estate stuff. I think we're going to start trying to get better about putting content up. We're kind of hit and miss on what we do, but yeah, that's the best place to find me.
Cool. And really quick, for your fiance, what is hers? Since I know you were mentioning that you guys post pictures of the design, all of that stuff.
Yeah, thank you. You're a good man for reminding me of that because she's the one that does all that. Hers is Kelsey Marie 027.
Perfect. Leo, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. This has been a lot of fun. And I hope when people listen to this, like, I'm just a regular dude, man. And if I can do this, like I said, 2018, our goal was to have our first rental 2020. In 2020, we had 7, and we're looking at a 12 unit today. So I'm telling you, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but like if you invest in yourself, you put the work in, like surround yourself with good people, man, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, Leo, and I'm really happy because we've gotten to know you. Like we met you in January of last year, and seeing the journey, seeing everything that you guys have been able to accomplish and what you will be accomplishing in 2021, that's just like, it's exciting.
Yeah, man. No, and I love it. I appreciate all you guys do for sure. You guys have been a ton of help, and the community that you've formed has been honestly probably the best decision I've ever made. So I appreciate you guys.
Does that mean we gotta up the ante, Diego? We gotta charge more for the dues. I mean, he's gotten a free house at a rat race. He ain't going anywhere.
Right? Oh man, that's true. That's
hilarious. All right, guys. Well, Leo again. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Everyone, I'm Felipe Mejia. You can find me at Felipe Mejia, REI on Instagram. I'm here with my co-host, Diego Corzo. You can find him at...
You can find me at Real Diego Corzo.
That's right, on Instagram, guys.
RadRace2FI and RadRace2FI.com if you have questions.
Perfect. All right, head it out. Thanks, guys.
The Rat Race to 5 podcast, where we discuss money, mindset, real estate investing, and ways to achieve financial independence. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran needing new ideas for investing or creating side hustles, you're in the right place.